So hope everyone is settled, right? Yes. So where did we stop? Sir. So this is a special class, right? I'm sorry. So we'll start with JavaScript. JavaScript. So JavaScript, yes, it is actually considered as a client-side scripting language. So client-side scripting language means what? So that means this JavaScript basically it executes on the client side. It executes on the client side. And it's a scripting language. Okay, it's a scripting language. Scripting language means, can you people tell me what do we mean by scripting language? So what is a scripting language? Yes. So the language code, you will find that it can be embedded with another language code. Yeah. Scripting language means the language code which can be embedded with another language code. Yes, like HTML and all. Yes. So by default, every browser you'll find that it supports JavaScript. Yeah, I'm sorry. So by default, you see every browser supports this JavaScript. All the modern browsers they support JavaScript. Yes. So JavaScript, what is the purpose of JavaScript? Basically, we use JavaScript for performing client side is used for client side validations. JavaScript is used for client-side validations. Here, client-side validations means the validations generally which we perform on the client side in the browser itself. So we'll see this client-side validations. So we'll before the request is sent to the server, making sure that the end user is providing all the required information or all the required request information for processing that request, making sure that all the required information is provided. Yes. Fine. JavaScript is not only used for performing client-side validations, but it can do more than that. Yes, it can do more than that here. Yes, it helps us to create dynamic web pages. JavaScript is used to create dynamic web pages which are interactive. Interactive. That means you'll find that the JavaScript code, it helps us to create interactive web pages. That means for user actions, you'll find that the web page will be responding. For user actions, the page will respond appropriately. Yes. You know what? Nowadays, we cannot think of creating a web application or web pages without using JavaScript. You know, you may not use this JavaScript directly in the raw format this way, but you will find that you have a lot of libraries and frameworks of JavaScript which are available in the market. So are you people familiar with any JavaScript libraries or frameworks? If so, can you people list down that JavaScript libraries and frameworks which you people are familiar with? Okay, jQuery is a JavaScript library. AngularJS is a JavaScript framework. And we have other frameworks also like Node.js. Okay, you got something called as Node.js. Node.js, Backbone.js. Yes, that's right. So you see, JavaScript again, it's a kind of ocean. Most of them they underestimate Java, but you know what? Here I can say that it's an ocean. Yes. Okay. Now let's do one thing. Here, even you see Ajax also is based on JavaScript itself. Yes. Now let's do one thing. Let's see how to embed JavaScript in the HTML page. So how to embed JavaScript in HTML page here. Okay. And we'll use it for performing client-side validations. Okay, so first of all, let's see how to embed the JavaScript into an HTML page. You know what? Actually, we can use JavaScript in HTML in many different ways. Okay, we can use JavaScript. We can we can write the JavaScript in the HTML page directly. And one more option is we can write JavaScript in a separate file and import it or add that JavaScript file here and use it. So you'll find many different options. First of all, let's do this. I'll try to add the JavaScript code here in the head element. We got an element called a script. You see, we got an element called a script, which helps us to embed JavaScript. Okay, so whenever you want to embed JavaScript into the HTML page, you see in the head elements of that HTML page, you can simply write that JavaScript. Yeah, you see the type you'll specify it as text JavaScript. Text JavaScript. So one good news is if you know Java, the syntax of JavaScript also looks similar. For example, for conditions, while loops, for loop, such things you'll find that there are similarities. Yeah. Okay. You know, Java and JavaScript are different. Though the names are matching, sometimes people they ask this question whether Java and JavaScript are related some way. You can say they're not at all related. The only thing is JavaScript and Java, they both got a common name. Yes, Java is common name. You can say. Okay, but they are totally different. Now here we can write the JavaScript code in a function. We can define a function this way. Let's say function get message, something like this. See, in Java we define methods, right? Similarly, in JavaScript you can define a function. So in order to define a function, here you'll use that keyword function. Function is the keyword that means predefined word in JavaScript. Function is a predefined word in JavaScript, so which is used to define a function. Function followed by function name here. Yes. So function name is user defined. Get message, it's the name I'm giving it. It can be anything you wish. Okay, that name can be anything you wish. Okay, so yeah, function is used to define a function name. function, I'm sorry. It's a predefined word. Function is a keyword in JavaScript. It is used to define a function. Followed by that function keyword, you have the function name. Yes. Function name is user defined. It can be anything. And you see the way we got a method body, similarly, we'll have a body for the function as well. You got a body for the function. Yes. Okay. So see the left curly brackets, it indicates the starting or beginning of the function. The right curly brackets, it indicates the ending of the function here. Yes. Okay. Now let me do this here. Whenever this function is invoked, I want to print alert message. Generally, you'll see alert box in the web page, right? Say just print a message. This is get message, or this is JavaScript. So alert, again, you see it's a predefined function. We are calling that predefined function called as alert. We are calling a predefined function called as alert here. What it does, it will display an alert box. In that alert box, you'll get a message. This is JavaScript. Okay. Now, when exactly this function is invoked, how to call this function? This function, will it execute by default, or do we need to call it explicitly here? How it works? By default, this function is not going to execute, so we need to call that function. We have to call that function. Yeah. Function has got a name, right? So you can use that name to call that function. Okay. You see, uh, here, whenever this form is submitted, for example, what I want to do is, when this form is submitted, I want to call that function. When this form is submitted, I want to call this function. Yes. So what to do? So you can add this attribute on submit. That means whenever this form is submitted, I want that get message function to be called this way. So for an event, so we got an event. What is it? When the form is submitted. When user submits the form, we want to call the function. Okay. So this is what you need to do. Okay. So that function, when it is invoked, what it does, it will simply print that alert box in the alert message and the alert message. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Actually, this JavaScript executes on the client side. If you want, you can directly access that HTML page. So I'll open it in the browser. click on login. It means we are trying to submit the form. So when we do that, you see your function, JavaScript function has invoked, and it prints a message here. Yes. This way we can define a function using a JavaScript. You see, we are embedding JavaScript here into this HTML page. So for that, we use this script element here. We are using a script element for that purpose. Okay. Next, yeah, what I want to do is I would like to use that method to validate this form. As of now, whenever you submit the form, by default, this form request will be placed on the server. Yes. By default, see, the request will be sent to the server. You know what? No matter you provide the form data or not, whether you provide username, password or not, by default, you'll find that the request will be sent to the server here. That is what happens. I don't want that to happen. Only if user provides the username and password, then only I want this browser to send this request to the server and handle that request on the server side. Okay. Yes. So let's see what to do in that case. So already, you know, this function will be invoked when the form is submitted, right? Yes. Next, you see here, in that function, now we need to read the username and password. We need to read the username and password here in that function, right? Yes. So how to read that username and password from that function? Yes. So in order to read that username and password, we can write that JavaScript code. We can access that text fields and all based on the name or ID. So what I'll do is I'll use ID here. I'll configure an ID which will be used by the JavaScript. Let's say username or uname, ID equal to password. Let's say, yeah. So for this text fields, we'll configure the IDs. Now, whenever that JavaScript function is invoked, with the help of that IDs, you can read that the data which is typed in that fields username and password here. Yes. So we use this reference called as document. You know, in JavaScript we got a document object actually. Document object, it is basically used to, or it refers to that HTML page or HTML document, I can say. The document object, it refers to that HTML page or to that HTML document. That whole page is a document now. So that page is represented by a document object. Well, JavaScript is also based on object-oriented concepts. You'll find that most of the things here in JavaScript are also represented using using objects. So we got a predefined object here, already created object called as document. Basically, it refers to that HTML document, I can say. We use that document object reference. See, in that we got a method called as get element by ID. You pass that element name or ID. You pass that element's ID. So you'll get that elements reference. Basically, when you call this method called as get element by ID, you're going to get that elements reference. So element in this case username. So what we want to do is here we want to read that value which is typed in the text field. We want to read the value which is typed in the text field. Yes. So what to do? You do this dot value. That's it. You name. So get element by ID method returns that elements reference to read that value which is typed in that element of the text field. Uses dot value. That's it. That suffix dot value will read that element value. Whatever the value which is typed in the text field, will get it. Okay. Similarly, you can also read the password. Password. Okay. So providing that element ID here. Yes. Okay. So this way you can access that elements using this get element by ID. You're trying to access that elements get element by ID using that method get element by ID. You got elements here, right? That input text fields are elements. You're accessing those elements or means text fields here using this method, and in that element you got a value which is typed in. To read that value, use this suffix dot value. That's it. So this way, using the JavaScript, you can access that elements in the HTML page and read the values which are typed in that elements or text fields, I can say. That's it. Next, okay, first of all, I'll do one thing. Let's see whether really we got that username and password or not. Okay, I'll try to display them here using alert box. At least username I'll try to print it. Yes. Let's see whether we are able to access that data or read the data or not. For example, I'll type in Harry, click on login. Oops, just a minute, refresh this page. Mm, it's not taking it, just a minute. Get element by ID. Oh, sorry. My bad. So actually here, I'm trying to declare a variable the way we do it in Java. Use var keyword here. Okay, use var. So that's the problem. So generally in JavaScript, if you want to declare variables, if you want to declare any variables, so use this keyword var. Var is a keyword, a predefined word, followed by var you have the variable name. So variable name can be anything, it's user defined, you wish. Okay, it can be anything you wish. Yes. So now we should be able to read that username password without any issues. Let's see. There is nothing like that. We are not dealing with a programming language seriously. It's a scripting language, just for validations and all. We use it not to create any serious business logic and all. Yeah, you see, we got that alert box. Yeah, generally people have a habit of comparing everything with Java. So once you learn Java, you try to compare everything with Java, but this is not Java. So every language is different and has got different purpose. So see, this is just a scripting language which we use on the client side. Now what happens is, whatever the data, what type of data you assign to this variable, based on that, you know, the variable will variable type will be decided here. Yes. If you assign integer value, it becomes integer variable. If you assign a string value, it becomes a string variable. That's it. So we don't need to explicitly mention the type here. Yes. Okay. Now we got this data. We're able to read it. You saw that. We need to validate it. Um, Validations generally on the client side, we don't really check whether that username is valid or not. That means whether that username is correct or not, the password is correct or not. Okay, that we don't do that here, but we have to check for that. Check for the other validations, like you know whether the user has supplied that username or not. Okay, and whether that username is appropriate or not, something like that. You see, for example, a username cannot be a single character, right? So such validations you can do it. So I want that username to be a mandatory field. I want the username to be a mandatory field. I want users to supply username mandatorily. So what to do? You see, For that, you can write the conditions. In JavaScript, you can use conditions. JavaScript provides conditional constructs, I can say. JavaScript provides conditional constructs. Conditional constructs like if. Okay, we got if. We can use if here. And we can build expressions. You can use relational operators and all here. So that is also possible. That is also possible. Yes. So if uname, sorry, if uname is equal to blank or uname equal to null, what we'll do here, we'll print alert message. Say username is required. See, we can write a condition the way we write it in Java. Yes. As I told you people, like syntax of JavaScript, like if conditions, looping constructs, you'll find that there are similarities here. Okay. And what I want to do is, I don't want this form, I don't want the client to submit this form to the server or send this request to the server. I don't want the client to send this request to the server. Okay. Yeah. So what to do? If you don't want the client to send this request to the server, then this method has to return false. Make this method to return false. Okay. Yeah. If this method returns false, then what happens? So it indicates that we don't want the client to send this request to server. So you have a lot of tools, okay, which you can use for JavaScript, but I'm not bothered about it. Please explore it on your own. Yes. Yeah. Now here, even while calling, do this. Add this return get message. Return followed by get message. Okay. So now what happens? You see, we are calling that method, right? Now based on the result which will be returned by that method, so the client will decide whether to send the request to server or not. You see here, for suppose if that function which you're calling, the get message function, if it returns false, then the request will not be sent to the server. By default, you see, what it does is it returns true. Upon the execution, it returns true by default. So here, if that condition fails, okay, if that block did not execute, then what happens? By default, true will be written. Okay. Yes. Fine. So now this time let's test this code. We'll see whether really the client will send this request to the server or not. Okay. So I won't provide anything. I'm sorry. I won't provide username. Let's click on this login. Oops. Just a minute. Mm. sorry, use double equal to operator. Okay. You see, if I click on login, you got an alert message which says username is required. So okay, if I click on that alert message, okay, so what's next? The client, what it does. So will it send this request to the server? That is what we need to see here. Okay. So I'll click on OK. You see, the client, did it send the request to the server? No, it didn't. So this way, you see, we can avoid unnecessary, you know, interactions with the server here. So if there is any invalid request or invalid input, we can make the client to check for the data, input data, and accordingly make a decision to send the request to server or not. Yes. Okay. So this way we can use the JavaScript on the client side. Now generally nowadays what you do is here alert boxes you see them rarely for displaying the error message. We have other options also. You see, we can dynamically update the content of the page. Here we'll use that option to display the error message as well. As of now, you saw that the error message was displayed in an alert box. An alert box was created and the error message was displayed in the alert box. But you know, I don't want that error message to be displayed in an alert box. Instead, I want to display that error message just adjacent to the text field. Just adjacent to the text field here. You see, you got username text field, right? So, adjacent to the text field, I want to display that error message. Let's see what to do. So, in this case, first of all, you see, I will add another column here, TD. I'll add a column TD. Adding a cell, you can say, just adjacent to that username text field, we are adding a cell. Now I will use that cell to display that error message. Now the question is here, how can we access the cell? How can we access the cell from the JavaScript and populate it with that error message? If there is any validation error, how can we access the cell and display that error message, populate that error message in that cell? So, you know, the best way to do this here is to use a div tag for this purpose. Div. You know, in the cell now, in that column or in that cell, I'm adding div, and what I'll do is I'll give an ID here for that. ID equal to error message MSG. Now to that div tag, to the div element, I gave an ID. Yes. Okay, so how it helps us, you see, now that div element or that div tag will help us, is helping us to mark that cell, I can say, to mark that cell. See, the div has got an ID, right? Error message. So you can access that div element from the JavaScript using that ID. You know, between that div element, you can add some data. You can populate some data also, it is possible. Okay, you can populate some data as well. Yes. So let's see how to access that div element from JavaScript and add some data between that div element. Add some data between that div element. Yes. So I'll replace that alert with alert box here, and I will add the data. First of all, you have to access that div element. How to access that div element here? What to do? How to access the div element? So we should use document dot get element by ID method again. Okay, document dot get element by ID. So it returns a reference of that element. You'll get the reference to that element. Use that in reference and just do this inner HTML equal to, you add this message. So username is required. That's it. So document dot get element by ID. So we are using it to refer to that div element. Based on that ID, we are trying to access the div element. So after you got that div element reference, we'll use that reference and we'll add some data between the div tags. Between the div tags, start and end div tags, we'll add some data. So to do that, we use this inner HTML. Okay, inner HTML, you know, you need not only you can use it for this div, but you can use it for any other HTML elements like h1, h2, any other HTML elements. You can use that inner HTML and assign some text content here to that elements between the start and end tags or start and end elements. You can populate some data or you can add some data here, I can say. You can definitely add some data. Yes. Okay. Yes. So this is the message which I'm trying to add. So font is a tag. It's a HTML tag. I'm specifying the color as red. That means between the font tag, whatever the text content you have, it will be displayed in red color. It will be displayed in red color here. Yes. And generally error messages are in red color, right? So that's the reason I'm doing this. Yes. To just add the color to the text content, I'm using this font element here. Okay. Yes. Fine. So let's see. So I'll refresh this page. You see, initially the div element will be blank. There won't be anything in the div element. Okay, but if there is any validation error, then the JavaScript function will populate that div element with some error message, which will be displayed in red color. Okay, yes. So let's see. I'll click on login. So when I click on login, so we didn't provide any username or username, right? Especially. So it says username is required. Yes. This way you see dynamically we can update the page content using JavaScript, right? So we are able to update the page content. Am I right? So that is what I'm trying to do here. Dynamically update the page content. Yes. So is it clear for you people, all of you? Just check once. If you got any questions, let me know. Yes. So any questions? Okay, good. So similarly, you see, we can also do the same for password as well. Yes. Okay. Now we'll try to further explore the JavaScript features here. Okay. Yes. Now the best source which you can refer for the JavaScript is W3 Schools itself. Okay. You can refer to W3 Schools. You may have many other sites, but you will find that okay in this site you got good explanation, reasonable explanation here. Yes. Okay. So let's see. As of now, we saw this. Just a second. JavaScript, right? We are able to embed it and all. Now, you see what data types basically JavaScript supports. You can see this. Yes, the data type details. You know, unlike Java, we don't explicitly mention the data type for a variable. Okay, we are not going to do that. So instead, what you will do is here we have to declare a variable this way using var keyword, var followed by the variable name here. Yes, and then you see here we'll assign a value. So based on the value which you're trying to assign to that variable, so the data type of that variable will be decided. So in the first line you see you're assigning a numeric value, a number. It's number type. Second, you see in the second case we are trying to assign a string. You see double quotes here. Even in JavaScript, double quotes represents a string. Even here in JavaScript also, double quotes represent a string, you can say. So that variable will be considered as string type here. Yes. Next, the third statement you can understand. It's an array. So you're adding the elements here. Simply, it is going to be an array. Yes. So you'll have three elements in that array now. They're all string values. If you want, you can add integer values as well. Now it depends on your requirement. It's an array of size 3. Yes. Next, the last one is an object. So this is how you'll create an object. So like Java, we don't define a class here. What you do is here. So basically, if you people can recollect in Java, when we talk about an object, so how do we store the data in the object using that variables, right? So object in the object you'll have key value pairs or properties or variables and some values assigned to them, right? You got some value. You'll find that in Java in the objects you got property and a value assigned to that property, right? Yes. Here also you see you'll follow a similar approach. So you see object in JavaScript is also a combination of key value pairs. It's a collection of key value pairs or name or property name and value pairs. It's a collection of or a set of name and value pairs. Java object is actually set of name value pairs. That is what you will see. You see, for suppose if you want to store some employee details, so you'll do this. You use curly brackets. So most important thing is curly brackets are used here. Okay. So curly brackets are used. So in the curly brackets, you see you'll specify the property name and what value you want to assign to that particular property. So the property name and the value, they both are separated by that column here. They both are separated by column. Yes. So first name dot John, comma, another key name value pair, last name dot Joe. Okay. So these are different types which you see in JavaScript. So let's do one thing. Let's use this array. Okay. I'll create another page. test.html. So I'm creating a HTML page with the name test.html. Now in this page, HTML page, now we'll embed JavaScript code. So you know what to do in order to embed JavaScript. So use which element to embed JavaScript here? Script element. So you have to use script element to embed JavaScript. Script and type, you need to mention it as text/JavaScript. So next, let me add a function, say sample. So we'll add this array. So now we got an array with 3 elements. So for suppose here, I want to read the elements from that array. I want to read the elements from the array. So what to do? So I'm talking about JavaScript here. So using JavaScript, we should be able to read the elements. So we can use for loop here, or while for loop. It is possible. So let's add a for loop here. You see, just look at this for loop. See, for where int equal to 0. Int means it's not a data type. Okay, don't think that it's a data type. Yes, there is every possibility, like, we Java developers, we may think that it's a data type, but it's not. So you can just do this as I. Use a variable name as I here. Yes, where I equal to 0. So that means here, so that variable is what type? Number type. We are sending a value, numeric value. So it is numeric type here. So what is the array name here? Cars. You see, I less than cars dot length. Here also you have that property. So let's use that length. Now what I'll do is here, I'll display that values in that document, in that HTML page itself. So how will you access that elements? Using the index again. Here also we're going to do the same. So we'll be using index, array name, and the index here. Yes. So but here we have length method or function, actually, I'm sorry, not property. length function will be there. That is one difference to notice here. Okay, or actually we got length property also. We can do that. I'm sorry. Let's see. Now when this function will execute, okay, I can do this on load sample. So on load means when this page loads. So if this page loads successfully, I want the function to be invoked. We can do this. Okay. So it's HTML page, right? Test HTML. No, just a minute. Download. You can see here that. So function keyword was wrong. You see, actually, you got all the values in the same page. So you can use a BR type to display the values in separate lines. It's BR. For some reason, it's not working. Document.write BR. Just a minute. In that browser, it's not working. Okay. Yeah, this is what happens. So that is not a reliable browser. Yeah, it works here. Okay. So, do you see any difference between the syntax of for loop in Java and the syntax of for loop in JavaScript? Is there any difference? Okay. Generally, variable declaration it's not part of syntax of your Java, right? Sorry, for loop, right? So you have declaration part, we got condition checking, we got incrementation, decrementation part here. That is same. we got a body for this for loop. We use left and right curly brackets here to represent to define that method body. Okay, everything is same. There's no difference, right? I don't see much difference here. Yes. Okay. There's not there's no difference. Declaration of variable is not always specific to for loop, right? You can declare variable anywhere. It's not just specific to this for loop. Okay. Next, what else we have? Let's see. We saw objects date. Here we got this date format. You see, this is a different type of example where we can embed JavaScript here. So far we saw that, you see, we can embed the JavaScript code through the head element. In the head element, we are adding that JavaScript code, right? But you can also add the JavaScript code directly in the body. You can also add JavaScript code directly in the body as well. Yes. Let's see. This way. Use script element. And you see, in the script element, we are not adding or defining any function, right? In the script element, we're not defining any function. Yes. So directly we are writing the statements between that script element. Okay. Yep. So you see, if you want to deal with dates here, you can create a date class object this way. New followed by date, and you can pass it a date which you want to store. You can pass the date which you want to store here. See that line number 29. It shows how to create a date object and store the date. Here also, you know what? We can create a data object without passing any data. You know, in that case, the data object, if you don't provide any date, by default, what is that date stored in that object? The system date. Sorry. You see, document dot get element by ID, and we gave demo. What is that demo over there here? Yes. What is that demo over there? Demo is the ID of which element? Demo is the ID of which element? We got an element called as P. Why this P is used? P tag or P element. So basically P tag or P element here is used for a paragraph. It is used for paragraph. Yes. If you want to add a paragraph, you can use that P tag. So that ID refers to that paragraph here. That's it. So to that paragraph, you'll be adding that date. To that paragraph, we are adding the date here. That is what happens. Okay. Yeah. So you see, we don't need to call this JavaScript here because by default we'll have, so by default we have added it to the body type. Okay, we got it in the body tag itself. So by default it will execute now. When the page loads, it will execute. Okay. So now what about the function which we have defined here on top? Will it execute the sample function? So will it execute this time? The sample function which you got in that head. It won't execute. Okay. So whatever the functions which you define in that head, you see between that head elements, so they won't execute by default. So we have to call them explicitly. Okay, we need to call them explicitly. Yes. Yes. Fine. So let me run this code. Okay. Use the external browser. See. So got that date now. Yes. So this way we can create a data object in JavaScript and can store some data here accordingly. Yes. Okay. Fine. Now you got some fair enough knowledge of the JavaScript here. See, you'll find that in JavaScript the most important point is the most important topic is events. Events. Event handling. So for any event which occurs in that page, you know, writing the code appropriately to handle that event. So when I say event, so what does it means? When I say event, what does it means? So can you load current date? Yes, you have to create a data object. By default, it stores the date. Don't pass it a date. Okay, don't pass a date. Just create a data object. That's it. Without passing any date. So what is an event? Event means no idea. Okay. Generally, events I can say that they are the actions performed by the end users. Events basically they refer to the actions which are performed by the end users. Yeah, as the people said yes, pressing a key or submitting a form, moving the cursor, even moving the cursor also, or typing in some data in the text fields. You know, any actions which are performed by the user. Okay, they are events. The user events can be many different types. Okay, so just now we saw that on submit. On submit is also an event. Okay, on submit is also considered as a event here. Yes. You know, on load, we saw that on load. On load means when the page loads. Even that is also an event. If the page loads successfully, if the page loads successfully, that is also an event. Yes. So we have other events also. Yes. Let's see them. What are they? So there are a few interesting events. You know, for example, for suppose here, user will type in the username, right? As of now, you see which element is in focus here. Which element is in focus? That username. That username element is in focus. So here, for suppose, what if I select password field. Now you see, password field is in focus. I can say that username field lost focus. Username field, it lost the focus. So that even when an element loses focus, when an element loses focus, it is actually called as on blur event. If an element loses focus, that event is called as on blur event. Yes. So for that on blur event, we can write some code. Yes. You know, this event is one of the uh, widely used events. Especially, you see, you can use it for validations and all here. Yes. For example, you see, you might have noticed it. You see, um, generally when you log into your mail accounts, like Google, you'll type in username and you'll select a password field. So you see, once you select the password field, immediately that username field will be validated. So the application will check whether the user has supplied that username or not. Okay, and it may display tick mark or something like that, which indicates that okay, username is supplied by the users. Yes. Okay. So let's try to use this on blur event to handle that validation. Already we have written that validation code. Now particularly we'll use that on blur event to handle that validations. Okay, yes. So where is that login page? Here it is. As of now, you see, when this form is submitted, when we submit the form, then only, you see, the JavaScript function will be called. Then only the JavaScript function will be invoked here. Yes. Now instead of doing this, you see, I will use on blur. You see on that username text field, on blur equal to, call that method get message, that JavaScript function, on blur. So this time, you see, you'll find that whenever this text field username loses focus, the JavaScript function will be invoked, which does the validation. Yes. Okay. So let's see. We will refresh this page. So I'll type in. Okay, I won't type in anything. As of now, you see, the username field is in focus. So when I select the password field, the username field will lose focus. When I select the password field, what happens? The username field will lose focus. Yes. Let's see. See, select password. Once I select password, immediately internally the JavaScript function was called, and what it is doing here, it is validating the username and displays that error message as well. Yes, it is displaying the error message also. Okay, and you might have noticed it. So can you people give me at least one example where you saw this on blur event? Yes. Yes. Banking sites are okay. Registration form also. Yes, that's right. So basically, if you noticed it, like when you're trying to provide, sometimes while registering, you'll be prompted to provide a username. So let's say you're registering for email address, you'll be asked to provide username. Sorry, you will be asked to select an email address of your choice. Let's say you're registering for a email, So in that case, let's say here you've been prompted to provide the username of your own choice. There is email address of your own choice. So you'll type in email address. What if that email address is already taken by some other user? So the application will validate that username and will check whether email address. Username means here we are referring to email address. So the application will check whether that email address is already taken by some other users. If not, so that email address will be assigned to this new user. Otherwise, the application will prompt the user to select a different mail address. So generally, after typing in that email address, so user will move to the next field, right? Yes. See, in that case, immediately you can write that validation code here. Yes. Uh, while checking for DB, is it making a call to database? Generally, you know, as of now here, so the JavaScript which you're using, so we are able to only call uh, client-side functions, so that we are handling that events on the client side itself. So when you're handling the events on the client side, so there is no question of DB interactions. So you see to check whether the username is provided by the user, or whether the user has the end user has left that username blank. If that username field is blank, so such validations you're writing them here. You see, to check for such validations, do we need to interact with the database server in order to check for that such validations? Is there a need to interact with the database server? What do people think? Just to check for such validations, you see, like whether the user has provided the username or not, password or not, whether that username field is empty, or email address is valid or not. Valid email address means you'll have at the rate mail.com or something like that, right? Yes. For such validations, is there any need to interact with the database server? Thinking up, okay. My goodness, you people are thinking so much for this question. So you see, for such validations, we don't need to interact with the database server. Am I right? Why you people are thinking so much? So there is no need to interact with the database server to check whether the user field is blank or not. Right? Yes. So we are handling this, we are right. We are handling that validations on the client side itself. So there is no need to interact with the database server or not in this case. Later on, you will find that you'll find that for client side events, or we can handle client side events on the server side. We can handle client side events on the server side. That means, for suppose you got this on blur event. So when that element loses focus, you can call server side code handle client side events can be handled on the server side. That means for the client side events, we can call the server side code. You got this point? For the client side events, we can call the server side code. As of now, the client side events, we are handling them on the client side itself using JavaScript. But it is possible to handle this client side events on the server side also. But it is a special concept. So that is where you got something, a special concept comes into the picture. Is anyone familiar with it? Have you people heard about it? Handling client side events on the server side. How do we do that? Handling client side events on the server side. Very good. Yes. That is where your Ajax comes into the picture. Ajax calls. That is what the next thing you'll do. Ajax stands for asynchronous JavaScript and XML. Asynchronous JavaScript and XML. You see, using this Ajax, what you can do is the client for the client side events, you can call the server side code. So on the server side, you'll be dealing with the DB interactions and all. On the server side itself, you'll be dealing with database interactions and all. Okay, but still we got some time to talk about this Ajax. So hope you understood this on blur, right? Yes. On blur. Let's see the other events which you got here. You see, there is an example for events like mouse over me. Okay, mouse over. That means when you hover the mouse or when you move the mouse over an element, if you move the mouse over an element, that is an event. So for that event also, you can write the appropriate, or you can handle that event. I can say we can handle that event. Yes. See, for example, you got this box, right? Red box. You see, mouse over me. If I place a mouse or cursor on that red box, so you got this message. That message, the content of that box has changed, right? So earlier it was move over mouse, move over me. If I place the cursor, it says thank you. And similarly, you got click me. So on click, this event is on click. The previous event is on mouse over. The previous event is called as on mouse over. That is the previous event. On mouse over. And this one currently which you got, and this one is on click event. That means if you click any element, if you click any element, that is also an event. So we can handle that event accordingly. Yes. Okay. So let's see this code here. We'll be able to see the sample example. For on click, you have it here. You see, for suppose this is the code which you got. You got a button. See, I've highlighted this button ID. You got some ID. You can create a button using button element. Okay. Now we got JavaScript function here. See, get element by ID on click equal to display message. So we are registering a function call for that particular event, on click event, for that particular button. So we are accessing that button, that element button, and we are registering a function to handle that event on click. On click equal to display date. So what is display date? It's a function. You see, this is where it is this is where it is defined. This way you can register the functions for events. For a particular event, you want to call a function, so you can register that function for a particular event. This way, you see, on click equal to display date. Now you see, if I click on this button on the right side, you can see the results. If I click on the button, the above content will change. The above content will change. You see, Vamshi, you have asked me this question, right? So what if I want to display or to store that system date, current date? If you want that current date, you see, this is how you'll create a date object. That's it. Okay. Now I'll click on this try it button. See down, sorry, not top, on down, you see, we got that date. Okay. Hope everyone got it. Yes. So this way we can use this, we can handle that on click event, I can say. We're trying to handle on click event. Similarly, we'll see the other events also. But let's do one thing, we'll take a small break. Okay. We will meet after the break quickly. Just come back quickly. Yes. So just let's take a 10 minutes break. Come back after 10 minutes and we'll continue discussion. So after I show you people few more events, we'll start with Ajax once. Okay, we'll start with Ajax. Yeah. Okay then. So 10 minutes break. Okay, so I'm back and hope everyone can hear me, right? Can you people hear me? Okay, fine. So now let's do one thing.
Huh?
Let's talk about
ఏది ఏం
uh,
లేదు
the events further. Okay, let's see the events further. So we saw on blur. Similar to on blur, we got other events. On blur, then you got on change. We got on change. Now let's see this on change here. When user changes the content of an input text field,
ఏది
okay, when user changes the content of an input text field, in that case, that event, see when the content changes, we can handle that event. See, for example, you got this example here. So you got a text field. Let's enter a name. Say I'll enter this name, uh, Mahesh. Okay. After making the changes here, see when you leave that field, I'm sorry, when we leave that field, yes, I'll select the other part of the field here or page. Immediately, what happened? You see, the text content in the text field is converted to uppercase. It is converted to uppercase. Okay. You see, in case of, in place of on blur, I can also use on change. On change. So in the login form for that username text field, I'm using on change. Let's see what makes the difference here. For suppose, um, if I don't enter any content, if I don't type in any content, in that case, can I say that the text field is not changed? Can I say that the text field is not changed? That means the content in the text field did not change. Can I say that? Yes, the text field content did not change. Right? Yes. So in that case, that function will not be called. You see, that function is not invoked here because there is no change in the text field content. Even here also, you see, for example, now let's say the text field is blank. In this case, I'll do one thing. Let me just make some changes here to this function. I'll add an alert box here, my function. So if that my function is called, then you'll find that this alert box will be displayed, right? It will be moved, or it will be displayed. But there is no change in the content. Sorry. You see, I won't change the content of this page. I won't change the content of this page. Sorry, the text field. That means the text field is blank. I will leave it blank, and I will select some other part of the page. You see, I have selected the other part of the page here. So nothing has happened here. Now that function is not called my function. But for suppose if I add some content, if I type in some content, this time that means I've changed the text field content. That function will be called. You see, so that function is called. Okay, but we don't see that alert box, invocation of alert box. I'll show you here itself. Alert, say get message, alert get message. So let's see. So I won't refresh this page. You see, as of now, this username text field is selected. So I'll select the password field. So what happened? Nothing has happened here. Okay, that function is not invoked. For suppose if I type in some content here, something like this, and then if I select password field, this time there is a change in that text field content, right? So that alert box is invoked. Hope you people got it. Next we got on focus. On focus means, can you people tell me? On focus. That means when a particular field is highlighted, or when you select a particular field. Okay, when a particular field is highlighted. Yes. So when a particular field is highlighted, or when a field is selected, I can say, see, you can say that that field is in focus. That element is in focus. Yeah. Just quite opposite to on blur. On blur means when the element loses focus. Okay, yes. On blur means when the element loses focus. But here, in this case, when the element gains focus, or when the element is selected, I can say. So for suppose what happens in this case, if I select this text field, you see what happens. Okay, what is the change? What is the change? You'll find that the text field's background is changed. The text field's background is changed here. Yes, that is on focus. The color of the text field has changed. You see, one thing to notice here. So for this event on focus, when the text field is selected, we are calling that function, and you're passing something here. This means this means that current elements object reference, I can say. The current elements object reference. So which element is a current element here? Yes, you're referring to which element? That current element means the text field. You see, the text field reference, it is passed on to that my function. The text field reference is passed on to that my function. So my function will take that reference. It is storing it in a variable x. X is what? It's a reference variable now. You can think of it as a variable which holds the reference of the text field. That means this time we are not explicitly obtaining that object reference. We are not explicitly obtaining that object reference in that JavaScript function. Earlier we used to call that method get element by ID to obtain that object reference, to obtain that elements reference and use it. But here this time explicitly is passed on. So this is the other option which you got here. Okay. If you're only dealing with a particular field in that function, then we can do that, right? Yes, this is possible very much. So hope you people got it. Yes. So you see, this is what we can do with JavaScript. So we can add some dynamism to that web page, right? We can add some dynamism to that web page. Okay. So, can't we validate the data? Don't we have these options like the for loop, if conditions, you know, And what else, like the relational operators, arithmetic operators. Don't we have such operators in HTML? No, we don't have them. Okay, you won't find such operators or looping constructs or conditional constructs in HTML. Okay, fine. Now, we saw this events, right? For suppose on select, on submit, we saw this on submit. Mouse events are there, so we'll go through mouse events. Other events I'll leave it to you people. For example, you see the mouse event is there, right? In case of this mouse event, you see you have both. We have a header here. H1 is a header on the left side. You can see this code. For this header, we are adding two events. That means what are the events? On mouse over equal to style dot color equal to red. So what does that means? What do you people think? What does that means? What do you people think? Yes. That means whenever user moves the cursor over that particular header, whenever the user moves the cursor over that header, what happens? So you'll find that that header's color will change from black to red, I can say. The header's content will change from black to red here. Yes. Yes. That is what happens. On mouse out means what is that event? On mouse out. On mouse out means, you see, when the cursor is moved out of that particular element, when the cursor is moved out of that element. Now we'll see that. You see, if I place the cursor on this element, it says mouse over this text. Now the color has changed. If I move the cursor out of that content, out of that header, again the color has changed, because you see on mouse event, that means when that mouse is moved out of that cursor, sorry, or the cursor when it is moved out of that header, we are handling that event also. On mouse out style, we are setting it to black again. Style, we are setting it to black. Yes. Okay, so hope you people got it. So if I place a cursor, it becomes red. If I move the cursor from that header, it becomes black. Some dynamism here which you're adding. Okay, you can do that. Fine. Click events. You see, on click is there when you click on a button, or not only button or a header. It can be anything you wish. You see, in line in this line which I've highlighted, we're clicking a button. Sorry, we're creating a button here. So button on click my function. So click me. So whenever that button is clicked, what happens? Yes, what happens? Can you people tell me? If I click on this button, what happens? So that above content, the content which is on top of that header, sorry, on top of that button, that content which is on top of that button, you'll find that it will change from, it will change it to hello world. Yes. So actually not only button, this on click, you can use it for any element, for a header also, for any text content also you can use it. It works. For any text content also you can use it. It works. Yes. Okay. Yes. Fine. So I'll click on this button. On hello world, I'm sorry. Not the above content, I'm sorry. Sorry. Below you have a paragraph. Yes. Okay. Double click also is there. Instead of single click, you can also even handle double click. Yes. Next, you got onload. So onload, we saw that. Onload means, when the web page loads successfully, when the web page, it loads successfully. That is onload. Okay, fine. So on error, for suppose if there is any error loading an image or a page, you see, in that case, what to do? You can call a JavaScript function on unload. So when the browser closes, yes, the document. When your web page is closed, it's unload. Page will unload, right? It's at that time you want to execute some JavaScript function, you can do that. On resize, if the page is resized, you see now the page is resized. So for this also, you can handle the events. Yes. So now we will be using this events in Ajax and jQuery. Okay. So I won't discuss much about it now here because actually, so what I want to do is here I would like to discuss more about Ajax and JavaScript here instead of working with this JavaScript directly. Okay, because you'll be using using jQuery. You'll work with jQuery a lot. Yes. So jQuery is also a JavaScript library itself, as I told you people. Yes. So let's see Ajax now. So what is Ajax? We'll see this. We'll see applications of the events and all now. Ajax. Ajax means asynchronous JavaScript in XML. So what do we mean by asynchronous JavaScript in XML? So can you people tell me what exactly it is? Change after page gets loaded. Mm, very good. That's right. So you'll find that yes, just now as I told you people, as of now so far what we did is we're trying to handle that events on the client side within the same browser. We are trying to handle the events on the client side within the same browser. Okay. But you know what? Here, the client side events, that means the events which occur in the browser, we can handle them on the server side, which makes this page not, which makes this page more dynamic. Yeah, sorry guys, sorry. Yeah, sorry. So yes, Ajax. You know, but this is one of the revolutions I can say in the web application development. It's one of the revolutions. Yes. You will find that handling the client side events on the server side, it makes the web page lot more dynamic, I can say. It makes that web page a lot dynamic. Yes. And moreover, another important thing, you need to understand this term asynchronous here. What is asynchronous? Let's see. Someone has, Anupama, I guess, just defined it already. That's right. So, for example, you have this form. Generally, when I submit this form, you know, the browser, what it does internally, it will construct a HTTP request. You people are aware of it. And then what it does, it will send it to the server. It will send it to the server, right? The browser, after it sends the request to the server, what exactly it does after the request is sent to the server, the browser, what exactly it does. So what do you people think what happens when the server is request processing the request? The browser, what it will be doing? Will it be able to further handle any events, or will it be just waiting for the response from the server? The browser, will it be waiting for the response from the server, or will it be able to continue, handling the client's request and all? You know. So what do you people think? What it does? So generally, the browser will be waiting for the server's response. That is where you'll see that loading of the page always, right? Page will be loading. You'll see that loading. You got this? So it will be waiting for the response. Traditionally, this is what happens. Okay, which makes the users to wait also. Not only the browser, but users also should wait for the response and all. You know, it's a synchronous call, I can say. In this case, the client is placing a synchronous call. Yes, it's a synchronous call. Yes. Here, if the client is waiting for the response, you see, the end user will not be able to access uh, any part of the page when it is waiting for the response from the server. You'll only get that page loading symbol. That's it, right? Yeah. Moreover, there is one more disadvantage here when we talk about this synchronous call. What is it? I'm not sure how many of you people have noticed it, or initially in earlier days of this internet and all. So, I mean, more than a decade ago, more than a decade ago, it's almost 15 years back or so. Have you people ever 15 years back? Yes. So, have you people tried registering for any for an email address. I did that. I'll tell you what is the story. So for suppose let's take this register page. You know, for suppose this is your register page for email address itself, let's say. So the first field is email address, let's say. Yes. The first field is email address. Let's say you're registering for a email address. In that case, you will be prompted to first of all you have to provide that email address. You will provide an email address generally. You'll provide an email address. Yes, right. Here there can be one issue when you provide the email address of your own choice. Generally, uh, you'll find that the applications will that email application will ask you people to provide an email address, a valid email address. Sorry, not valid. That means your email address of your own choice. That option you will have it. But there is one issue here. That email address which you have provided, it might have been taken by some other user, right? We don't know. Might be it is taken by some other user. So in that case, you see, the application has to validate that email address and it has to some other user check whether some other user has taken this email address. Check whether some other user has taken this email address already. If the application finds that no other user has taken this email address, then the application will consider it as a valid email address for registering the new email, for taking that request for new email. Yes, I have noticed it earlier. What happens is whenever we type that email address, along with the email address, you have to type all other details like password. You have to type it couple of times, password and confirm that password again, first name, last name, phone, and lot of other data you have to provide it. And you see, after that you have to submit the form. When you submit the form, all this data used to go to the server. And for suppose, if there is any issue with that email address, for suppose the email address is already taken by some other user, then it used to send a response that this email address is already taken. You will find all that form again. You'll find the same form again which you filled up earlier, and you have to type in that email address, a new email address, and then you have to provide a password and type in other details and then send it to the submit the form again. So you have to re-enter a lot of details in that form again. You need to re-enter a lot of details in the form again. Yes, that is needed. Again, after providing a new email address, so you need to submit the form again. For suppose the second time the email address which you have provided, you see, if it is also not available, for suppose if it is taken by some other user, again you have to type in another email address you have to select another email address, and then what you need to do here, you need to provide that password, type in the password again, provide the other details also again. Yes, and then you need to submit the form again. All that form data will be sent to the server, and that username will that email address will be validated. So this process should be repeated every time you try to provide a new email address. So you have to along with that email address, you have to provide some other details also, like password, first name, last name, again submit the form. So yes, I did that. I did remember 15 years back. So that was the only option which was there. I did it with Yahoo. I did remember. Yes, with Rediff also. There was no other choice. No, sometimes people used to get very much irritated with that, because every time they have to provide the new email address, select their own email address, they have to provide the email address, and along with it type in the password, at least minimum of type in the password twice. Okay, and then they have to submit the form again, where in that form all that user details they used to be sent to the server. Yes, so you see here, just for validating the email address, to check whether that email address is available or not, to check the availability of that email address. So the whole form is submitted, that whole form data is sent to the server. That whole form data, it is sent to the server. Yes. So this is unnecessary, right? Every time, to validate that username, sorry, email address, each time you will find that form data has to be complete form data has to be sent to the server. Yes, that is what happened earlier in the beginning. I know that, but later on, Google people, when I registered with Gmail, I realized it, but it was long after that. It took a lot of after many years. I found that, you see, when I was trying to register for an email address this time, whenever I type in the email address, and when I select the first name field, for example, if you take this example here, for suppose, just assume that this is a form to register for email address. So if I type in some email address this way, let's say of my choice, I have to select my own email address. I have to provide my own email address which I want to use. If I type in that email address, and if I select the first name, I used to get a message about the availability of that email address. So immediately, whenever that text field, email address text field loses focus, the request used to be sent to the server, and that email address used to get validated, and we used to get a message quickly. Immediately, we'll get a message without a form submission. That email address was validated, and we see that message about the availability of that email address, whether it is available or not. Now this was little helpful, of course. This was really helpful. Yeah. So here you'll find that this is only possible through Ajax. So this was only possible through Ajax, through asynchronous calls. Earlier there was no support for asynchronous calls. Later on, Ajax has changed this dynamics of the web page, I can say. So it added a lot of dynamism to the web page. So immediately that email address used to be validated, and you see, we used to get that availability of that email address, whether it is available or not. Now I don't need to bother about submitting the whole form, retyping the all other details and all. Okay. Yes. So hope you people got it. Yeah. So that is only possible because, you see, for this event we can call the server side code. we can call the server-side code. It's an asynchronous call. And you see, internally, whenever this element, that email address element, whenever it loses focus, a client-side call was made, asynchronous call was made. That means a request was sent to the server. It was asynchronous. That means after placing the request, the client won't wait for the server to get the to give the response. You see, still user will be can continue working with this page. The client need not wait for that response, and even you see, users won't see any refreshment of this page or reloading of this page. That means they can still access this page and work with this page. Okay, so hope you people got this. Okay, in general. So uh, we'll do one thing. So how to work with this Ajax calls, asynchronous calls. So I'll talk about it in the next class. Okay, yeah. Uh, our next class for this Ajax, for this class, I'll do one thing. At least I'll complete this Ajax this week. On Monday at 8 p.m. Central Time, we'll have a class again for Ajax on Monday 8 p.m. All of you, everyone, okay, try to attend that class. So there are other batch people also. Try to attend this class on Monday for Ajax. I'll talk about Ajax. We'll complete that Ajax part, okay, and then okay, we'll continue with the other topics as usual. Okay then. So I'll stop it here. So we'll be able to complete that Ajax part on Monday. Yes, fine. So later on, at some other time, I'll plan jQuery and AngularJS also. Okay, yes, fine. So whatever we did today, hope you people got it, and I hope now uh, you will be in a position to create a dynamic web page or make the page uh, more dynamic here, right? So when we talk about Ajax and jQuery, there you will find that you'll find that you can add more dynamism to the page. Okay, it's fine. Okay then. Sorry. So our next class is on Monday at 8 p.m. Central Time.